Hi, my name is Miranda Fisher, and today I will be providing an overview of my dissertation prospectus. The anticipated title for my dissertation is The Motivation Behind Female City Managers' Commitment to Breaking Through Occupational Barriers. It is all about grit. As many of you know, this is a slight change from my original topic, which was the lack of female representation in the city manager role. As I was completing literature reviews throughout the DPA program, I realized that there are numerous studies into occupational barriers specific to women. And the reason why these gender barriers exist are typically centered around patriarchal expectations and discriminatory practices or organizational cultures that lead to the glass ceilings or glass walls. Obviously, the goal of our dissertation is to contribute something new, so I started looking into what else I could focus on. I am very interested in representative bureaucracy, specifically active representation. So I began to research how active representation is actualized amongst female legislators. In other words, does the legislation they pass and/or support positively impact women, as that is one of the demographics in which they represent? And discussing this topic with Dr. E, though, we realized that a legislative analysis would be more appropriate for a political science doctoral degree, not a public administration one. Therefore, like many of you, I decided to set up a meeting with Dr. E to keep the brainstorming going. I shared that I am interested in knowing why women pursue positions in male-dominated fields and how they are able to push through adversity to obtain those roles. Dr. E talked with me about motivational theories, specifically grit theory, which assesses the characteristics a person needs to be successful. From there, my current topic grew into what I am presenting to you today. While my topic has changed from when we first started this DPA program, my why behind why I want to focus on female city managers has not. I've shared this statistic numerous times before, that according to a study completed by the International City and County Management Association's Task Force on Women, in 2014, only 14.4% of city managers were women. Due to this low percentage, city management is considered to be a male-dominated occupation. This type of occupational segregation means that women need to work that much harder to attain their career goals and combat barriers, such as the glass ceiling, glass walls, discriminative employment practices, and patriarchal perceptions of women's roles. The purpose and specific aim for this study is to describe how grit theory, which is the passion and perseverance for long-term goals, assists women in breaking through barriers to attain the highest level non-elected municipal government leadership position. Obtaining this information is vital in addressing issues related to occupational segregation within the public sector. It can help to motivate and inspire future generations of women as well to pursue a career in city management and be successful in doing so. If more women worked in the public sector, it would also address the current gap in passive and active representative bureaucracy, since half of the population in the United States are women. The literature that will be reviewed for this dissertation focuses on the following topics. As you will note, I have provided theorists and/or scholars specific to each topic. This by no means, though, is an exhaustive list. Grit theory is one of the newest motivational theories, which evaluates what drives people to persevere, primarily through adversity, to reach their ultimate goal. The key theorist here is Angela Duckworth. Gender leadership characteristics argues that men and women lead differently, and that their gender plays a large role into what leadership characteristics are exhibited. Key scholars here are Berryman Fink and Richardson. Representative bureaucracy is a pillar of public administration and consists of both active and passive representation. Passive representation occurs when representatives demographically mirror their constituency. Active representation takes place when representatives make decisions which directly impact the demographic in which they identify with. Key current theorists are Dolan and Rosenblum. Occupational segregation occurs when most of a vocational field is one demographic. For example, an occupation would be considered male-dominated if at least 75% of the total workforce is male and/or where males occupy more than 85% of available mid to upper level management positions. Key scholars are Ballard, Smith, and Sneed. With regards to female career progression, many women must overcome occupational barriers to advance through leadership ranks, and their successes and failures are important to evaluate when understanding their career progression experiences. Key scholars here are Karjabal and Newman. Lastly, for female city manager experiences, through a phenomenological reflection, many researchers have sought to understand the lived experiences of female city managers by having them share their thoughts, feelings, reflections, and key stories. Key scholars are Fox and Schumann. Angela Duckworth is the primary theorist behind grit theory. Duckworth is a professor at the University of Pennsylvania and a psychologist who has spent time researching developmental and positive psychology and individual differences. Duckworth's research area includes grit and self-control, and in 2018 she wrote Grit, The Power of Passion and Perseverance, which focuses on how grit can help a person succeed in life. By interviewing women who have been able to break through barriers, I will seek to describe through grit theory how these women's tendency to sustain interest in and effort towards very long-term goals, and how they employed self-control to regulate impulses in the presence of momentary gratifying temptations to attain the city manager role. Specifically, this dissertation will seek to describe women's experiences related to the characteristics of grit theory, which include courage, conscientiousness, long-term goals and endurance, resilience, and excellence versus perfection. To narrow down the sample size, I will focus specifically on the state of Colorado, where I reside and work as a town administrator. According to the International City and County Management Association, there are 137 female city managers in Colorado. I will interview 25% of those women, approximately 35 city managers, to have a viable sample size. I will obtain the list of city managers, including their contact information, from the Colorado Municipal League and the Colorado City Management Association. The research questions that I will seek to answer include: what are female city managers' motivational triggers that provide them with the grit to pursue career advancement? And what impact does grit have on women's success in the city manager role? I will use a phenomenological research design to gather information on female city managers' experiences related to their career advancement. In conducting interviews with these women, I will outline what motivational triggers provide them with the grit needed to seek a higher leadership position within municipal government, and how their grit helped them to succeed in the city manager role. One-to-one interviews will be conducted where open-ended, non-leading questions will be asked. This will allow the participants to respond freely and guide the conversation rather than me controlling the narrative. From the interviews, I will then identify the themes that emerged from the information provided from the participants. I've shared this quote before, but I'm sharing it again because ensuring that women are a part of decision-making is incredibly important to me. And I hope that my dissertation will help to shed light on how women can overcome barriers to be successful in the female city manager role. Thank you for watching my presentation. I look forward to hearing your feedback.